Thank you, Deputies, and thank you, Deputies. Can everyone please sit down? We'd be really grateful so that we can start the meeting. It's really good of you. It's really good to see so many people. And if there are some people who can't hear very well, can they come and sit near the front? And I'm sure that people will allow you to sit there. So I want to say thank you very much. I've received. Can we have quiet, please, at the back? Thank you. I just want to say that I have really received lots of messages, lovely letters, and I'm sure that I will receive more before I've finished. I had a lovely letter which I'll read from Michael Goldstein, the President of United Synagogue. And he said, "Dear Marie, as you come to the end of your tenure as President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, I wanted to write on behalf of the United Synagogue to thank you for your dedication and commitment over the last 6 years. Your 2 terms in office have coincided with some of the most challenging years for our community, from the Labour anti-Semitism crisis to COVID, and now the appalling events of October 7 and its aftermath. I also know the personal sacrifices you have made in order to lead our community. We appreciate the countless hours, days, and weeks you have invested in the work of the Board of Deputies. To lead is to serve," wrote Rabbi Sachs, pointing out that the highest accolade Moses ever received was to be called Eved Hashem, God's servant, and that there is no higher honor. So thank you again for your service to our community. No doubt you are looking forward to some rest and time off. You deserve it. We look forward to working with your successor following Sunday's election. P.S. I hope you give yourself some time out before the next project. So that was very nice, and I'm sure that I will receive more. But all of our stakeholders are very, very important to us, and it's very, very good to be able to hear. Thank you. So we'll come on to the election, and we will have the President's statement after the elections, and we'll deal with questions and other housekeeping then. So conduct, just to explain general conduct, please everybody is very passionate about the things that they believe in. Can we be polite? And no slander, although I want to say that this meeting is not being live streamed, but can we please remember that all of the candidates are standing because they want to give communal service, and it's very difficult, I can tell you, standing for election. So I think they all deserve recognition for that. And we will upload to Zoom, but not going to have live streamed. So just to remind you that all of the 10 candidates, including Ben, who is elected treasurer, there's Ben, thank you, are going to be, thank you, it's okay, it's good, allocated 10 minutes, which will be for a combination of their own speech and questions and answers. And during the presidential hustings, which we're going to come on to shortly, the presidential candidates are going to be seated in the green room, which is that way. And their telephones are not going to be allowed, just that you're there. And there will be a member of staff to supervise. And when candidates come on and off, they're going to be escorted by a staff member and back to the green room to collect the next candidates. And when you want to ask questions, and welcome to everybody online, I just want to explain that I've been told that the technology is that you will get a request from here to unmute yourself, and then you will have to unmute. It will take slightly longer than usual, so I just wanted to make it clear, because I'm trying to look and see how many of you are online. 50. 50 of you are online. You'll have to excuse me. I've bought my work computer by mistake, so I can't easily see. So there may be some delay. Also, when candidates are speaking, we know who you are, but if you want to tell us your name, obviously that takes time from your time allocation. So I'm just going to check. Is there anything else want to start? Good luck. So what's going to happen? Simon, bring out the first candidate. Okay, so we all don't know who is the first candidate. We're just going to be given the order. We're trying to run it as slickly as possible.
Sorry, I've got the order here. It was randomly numbers. Phil is first.
Okay, so it was a random selection. It's Phil going to be first, then who's going to be next?
Phil, Sheila, Amanda, Michael.
All right, so that's going to be the order. So can you please bring on the first candidate? Where is I can't see here how to get everybody to see. No, I can't see who's online, but normally I can see hands. Thank you. Welcome. You are our first candidate. So you've got up to 10 minutes, and you can speak up to 5 minutes. And I'm told that Martin, in the front, has got the clock, and he will let us know. So if you overspeak on the 5 minutes, any candidate, a red card will also go up, and it will go up at the end in any event. Good luck to all the candidates. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marie, and good afternoon, everybody. We're finally here, the second most important election this weekend after Eurovision. And wasn't Eden Golan amazing? Absolutely. The things that she's had to go through and come out with the results she did was incredible. And she is an inspiration, and a particular inspiration to me, because I've lost my voice. So I'm going to croak at you for a little bit, but only for a short time, and then open it up for questions. I come here ready to serve. I've been involved in the board for 16 years, 9 as Director of Public Affairs. I've served under all 4 living presidents and on all 4 divisions. I know where the levers are to make the changes we need for the future. In addition, I have a track record of delivery. I directed the campaign against anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. I secured the proscription of Hamas and Hezbollah. I worked to guide the community through the COVID crisis. I developed relationships with the Abraham Accords countries' embassies. I brought on board our first ever regional manager, our first Haredi deputy from Stamford Hill in 50 years. And most recently, I proposed the Adopt a Hostage scheme, which has been delivered so successfully by the board. Previously, as a local councillor and as a consultant in political affairs, I have strong relationships across politics, the media, faith and diplomacy to take our case to the highest levels. My manifesto, which you'll have seen, is about a new board, a renewed board, a board that puts deputies at its centre, with an independent chair and board meetings. Together, we will fight anti-Semitism, stand up for Israel's peace and security, defend religious freedom, build an inclusive, cohesive community that we will all be proud of. And we will do it together. Your first preference vote for Phil Rosenberg today is not just a vote for me. It's a vote for you, and it's a vote for us. Think today, when you cast your vote, about the message you're sending to our community, to our young people, and to wider society. We're not going to be a board of timidity. We're going to be a board of energy, dynamism, and confidence, and that is the president that I will be. Deputies, it's time. Let's choose the future and make history together. Thank you.
Martin, how many minutes have we got for questioning? Got seven minutes. Right, I will do my best to try and get questions. I will try somebody I know from the left, somebody from the right, someone who doesn't speak often, a woman. I'll do my best. I apologise. I can't get everything perfect. The hand up at the back was first, so off you go. You're taking up time, which isn't fair. Please, can candidates... Yeah, I agree with you. Stop the clock, please. We're going to stop. I absolutely agree. Queue up to speak because yeah, if people want to ask a question, thank you from the floor. I agree.
You tell me where to go.
Right, fine. Thank you very much. We now have a roving mic. Thank you, David. Start again. Thank you.
No time's being lost, don't worry.
No. Okay, Joe.
Phil, you held meetings with Corbyn's office just as everybody was saying no, just as everybody was saying this would undermine the actions of the community in dissociating it from him. Now, as far as I can work out, you were told this by people in JLM, LFI and others. What does this say about trust? What does it say about undermining? And what does it say about working collegiately?
I think that's a rather partial way of looking at the situation. You know, all of those organisations had relationships with that office, and I was Director of Public Affairs at the Board of Deputies. My job was to develop relationships with every part of the political structure. And my record speaks for itself. I was a victim of anti-Semitism in Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party. I was a local councillor. I appeared in the BBC Panorama programme on it. I directed the campaign that defeated anti-Semitism. I came up with the 10 pledges, and I worked with Keir Starmer's office to defeat anti-Semitism. And let me say this, I may not have your endorsement, Joe, but I got a letter, a handwritten letter from Keir Starmer. Dear Phil, thank you for helping us to defeat anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. And that is the endorsement that matters more to me.
Thank you. The next question is from Efrat Sofer. And then I'm going to go on Efrat.
Thank you very much, Efrat Sofer, SMP Sephardi. Phil, you have a very impressive manifesto, and we've been chatting a little bit more about it. And I was wondering whether you can tell us about how you want to actually implement your manifesto and bring it to life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, may I say, Efrat, how lucky we are to have you, an expert on Iran. We've worked together closely on Arab-Jewish relations. You're exactly the kind of deputy we need to empower, and under next triennium, I hope we'll see a lot more of you, first of all. Look, it was a very good conversation that we had about that, and I started by saying that I know where the levers in the Board of Deputies are to implement things. Everything in my manifesto, I know how it will be funded, I know how it will be delivered, and I know how it will be phased. We need to go for growth deputies. We can't be timid about this. The thing we have to fear much more than ambition is a lack of ambition. Now, I have got a few key factors. First of all, we need to develop a proper fundraising capacity. We currently don't have it. We have an amazing expert in that in Michael Uyghur, but he's not supported by any staff that do fundraising. So that is a first day commitment from me. We'll build that in so that we can begin to bring in money for the board and for its important work. Second of all, you'll remember that last year I led a communal contribution task force, a whole series of recommendations about how we improve the taking from the communal contribution and other funding sources. Unfortunately, it hasn't been implemented by the current honorary officers. It's a key priority of mine to make sure that we implement it and get the maximum out of the communal contribution. And third of all, as major donors, some of the more expensive elements that I've proposed, I've spoken to major donors about. Take, for example, the Jewish Experience Week and the 200 copies of the Jewish Living Experience exhibition. I've costed that out. It'll cost about £1 million. But I've spoken to a donor who can afford that and says that that level of ambition is the sort of thing that they want to fund. So together, if we have the right ambition, we will bring in that money. We've got to do it at the right pace. Of course, we've got to do it at the right pace. It won't all be at once. But I think that, as I say, the thing we have to fear much more than ambition is timidity. Let's go for growth, deputies.
Thank you. And can you stop the clock while I'm asking online, please? Aaron Cohen-Gold. Just to say, Martin, it's going to take a while to ask Aaron to unmute, so start the clock when Aaron comes online, please.
Hello, hopefully everybody can hear me.
Thank you. Can you proceed so that
Yes,
no
of
time
course.
is lost? Thank you.
Yes, of course. Phil, obviously, with the situation in the Middle East at the moment, there's been a huge increase in polarization, and the Jewish community has a role in trying to help bring that to a close. So what will you do if you win this election to support the effort to expand and bring back to life the Abraham Accords?
Well, thank you very much, Aaron. This is an absolute passion of mine. I studied Hebrew and Arabic at university, and one of the things I did at the Board of Deputies was to begin to develop relationships with all of the Arab embassies in advance of the Abraham Accords. We built incredible relationships. We started doing events. We did an amazing event with the Bahrain embassy at Lauderdale Road before they announced the Abraham Accords. And part of that was those countries soft testing with their own people how that work would look. And since the Abraham Accords have been signed, I visited the Emirates and Bahrain with Efrat. I've developed strong relationships with a lot of the ambassadors, all the ambassadors with normalized relations with Israel, and some who don't yet have relations with Israel. On Eid, I exchanged WhatsApp messages, greetings with all the ambassadors of the Abraham Accords countries. And I've been in conversation with all those countries and others. The board can play a crucial role in helping to build the reality of that people-to-people dialogue. It's something that I'm uniquely placed to do, and something that, if elected, I think will be a really exciting role for us to play together.
I'm going to say Vicky Harris and then online Tony Sloan. So if you can set up the online. Vicky Harris. You've got 1 minute for questions, everybody.
Phil, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Do you agree? And if so, how would you use the Constitution or other ways to ensure that women are represented on the board and within divisions in line with their representation within the Jewish community, and that their particular talents are best utilized?
So, to the first question, I don't really want to essentialize people. I think we can overgeneralize. I wouldn't do that. But what I would say is, obviously, when we've only got 30% of women in the board, we've got a problem, right? We've got a problem. We've got to address it. And I'll do it by a few ways. First of all, I think we need to change the culture of the Board of Deputies. At the moment, I'm afraid we get a lot of boorish men holding up the thing. And that's why I want to implement an independent chair for board meetings. I want to make the conversations much more discursive than adversarial. And I want to change the way that we do business so that it won't just be for women that's better, it'll be for everybody, but hopefully it'll be more enticing for everybody. Second of all, I think we need to campaign. When I was Director of Public Affairs for a time, we launched a video series with young people and a video of women deputies to show people, the model people, that this is what we want. We have to do that in advance of the next triennial elections. We have to encourage schools when they're, and organisations when they're electing deputies in by-elections between now and the next election to very strongly consider helping us get those numbers up. And we'll be proven, our record will be proven at the returns of the next election if we can get to 50% or just above. That will be the aim, and we'll do it together.
Is Aaron Cohen-Gold? Sorry, don't take time for that. Sorry, Tony.
Hi, Tony Sloan, Ajax JMA. Hi, Phil. I'm interested to know what you see as your main differentiator between yourself and the other three candidates.
Thanks, Tony. I think of all the candidates, I think I have the strongest reach across politics, the media, faith and diplomacy. I have those connections to be able to take our case to where it needs to be heard, and I think that's going to be crucial in the next triennium.
Thank you. In the room, come on, where's the hands? There's a hand there. Is it Daniel? You've only got 30, sorry, in the orange jacket. Sorry. Bruce. Right, you've only got 30 seconds. That's question and answer.
Okay, Bruce Greenberg out of the Northampton Jewish Community. Phil, do you feel there's been too many hustings or not enough hustings, or did the Board of Deputies get it just right?
We all love a hustings, although it may have contributed to my loss of voice. But no, I do like a hustings. Have we got time to one more or no?
Come on in the room.
time.
And in that
time's
case,
up.
deputies,
Sorry, that's it.
let's
I'm
choose
sorry.
the future and make history today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we, thank you, well done, Phil. Can we please have the next candidate? Big welcome to Sheila.
No, that's on the top. Did you, Monte, is that not what you were doing? Okay, great.
Let's move on. Right, yeah.
Okay, good.
You just do it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome, Sheila. Thank you.
Deputies, I have a vision where we bring respect back to the board, a vision where we are seen once again as the leading democratically elected representative organisation in the UK for British Jews to defend, protect, support and advocate for our community, where I no longer hear from deputies that their synagogues are thinking of leaving the board, where synagogues want to send as many deputies as they can to the board, and where deputies are proud to serve. A vision where deputies respect each other at plenaries. It says in this week's portion, Kedoshim, you should love your fellow man as yourself. No more shouting at plenaries over each other. No more heckling. No more being asked to leave the meeting. But respect has to be earned. I have chaired 2 divisions. I never had a problem with respect. A vision whereby deputies are valued for their skills and their expertise, where no deputy says to me, what am I doing here? What's my purpose? It's all a waste of time. Where we can analyse the skills and experience register at the beginning of every triennium, using deputies as volunteers so we know who we can call on when any specific purpose arises. But visions are for the future. And right now, since October the 7th, we are facing the toughest anti-Semitic rise in this country for generations, and the board has not been doing enough. I have 3 priorities as president. We need to challenge the lies and the biased reporting we are seeing and hearing every day on the TV, in the papers, on TikTok. We need to shout louder with our own positive messages. What are we afraid of? Who are we afraid of? We need to stand up to the hate marches we are seeing all across the UK, from Cardiff to Carlisle every week, and protests on campuses. We need to show strength through solidarity and come together as other organisations are already doing. And we need to educate about being Jewish, educate about Israel, to banish the ignorance and the misunderstanding that is out there that can lead to ignorance and race hate. Together, deputies, we will do this. I have served as vice president, senior vice president. I lead the board's outreach education group. I am a deputy lieutenant for Greater London. I sit on the Lord Lieutenant's Council of Faith. I am an executive member and a board member of national religious education organisations. I have the experience, the skills, the passion and the energy and the time to lead the board into the new triennium and regain our respect. Please vote for me in first preference place. Thank you.
Right, what I'm going to do afterwards is I'm going to say in the room who's got the question, and then I'm going to look online so that you can get ready if you're online, but I can't see any online, so we're not infallible. Lady, please come to the microphone. Thank you. You've got 6 minutes 20, is that correct? 6, right.
Dillis House, Belsize Square Synagogue. I wanted to ask that now we're in post-COVID era, how you intend to balance Zoom sessions with sessions in London, and how you're going to make sure that the business of the board is dealt with effectively, and that it isn't just a talking shop among friends who like to come to meetings to meet other people.
Thank you, Glynis, thank you. So, you know, since COVID, we do have the most amazing facility now of Zoom. We've got people here, you know, in the room, which is great to see. There are people here today who've told me it's a long time since they have come to a meeting in person, and it is great. And we want to make deputies feel they want to come and be social and see everybody else. But it is also important to know that we have the availability electronically to come together when it's not always possible to be here. So it would be really good to make deputies want to come to meetings and not impose it upon them. I don't think we should have times when we say we are not having a Zoom session. I know that's not going to make everybody happy, but I think there are times when we need to accept that one size does not fit all, and we can't exclude anybody by saying we're not having it on Zoom. I'm sorry if, I know some people don't agree with me, but hey-ho, nobody is going to agree with all my views, and my job is to hear from you. If we want to debate it again at plenaries, we need to make them more interesting. I would like every other meeting to have a speaker, not just from our community, but let's bring them in from outside our community. So we're not just a talking shop. And I want to hear debates coming through divisions so we can talk about things that don't even need a vote, but where deputies feel they can have a voice and not just listen to the same people speaking over and over again at each meeting. Thank you.
Right, the order is going to be Rick Cooper, and I'm sorry my eyesight's not good enough at the back, and then it will be Deborah Cohen. So be ready with the mic to go round, please. Thank you. And Simon, do you want to give Rick the mic so he doesn't have to get up? Make sure we stop the time, please.
Thank you.
Right, we're just making sure that candidates don't suffer a loss of time.
Ready?
Yes, please start.
Richard Cooper, Portsmouth and South Sea Hebrew Congregation. I was originally going to ask this question of Phil, but I'm asking you, Sheila, and indeed I'd like all the presidential candidates to answer. Given that the people of Gaza cheered on the terrorists returning from the 7th of October pogrom, and that like the Taliban in Afghanistan, Hamas are supported by at least 80% of the people of Gaza, and it seems that certain deputies, who I will not name, but sadly no longer with us, have been proved to be tragically prophetic. Will each candidate assure deputies that if they were elected to office, they would support rather than punish a fellow deputy who spoke intemperately from the heart, or at the very least, refrain from punishing such people while simultaneously giving the opponents of Israel's necessary actions in Gaza?
Thank you. You're out of
free
time
rein?
for your question. I don't want to prejudice candidates. Thank you. Can I remind everyone again, just so you're clear, you've got only 1 minute to ask a question. You can't go over time. It's not fair on the candidates because they suffer a loss of time. Sheila.
Yeah, thank you. So, Rick, yeah, I understand not everybody has the same views about what's happening in Gaza and what we should be doing and all the different views that deputies have, but I think deputies are entitled to hold those views. It comes back to what I said about respect. We need to respect, not everybody will agree with us, but it's a deputy's, a president's job, an honorary officer's job to listen to everybody and to allow that person space to be able to give their views and to know that the respect is being engendered so that person is not going to be shouted down. Sometimes people just want to have their views heard, you know. You feel passionately, you want to speak passionately. I know I'm that person as well, and it's important that we allow people time to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Sheila. Oh, it's very loud. Toby Kenyon, Deputy for No Ambassador Youth. On the question of respecting the diversity of opinions and that we're all in different places.
Can you stand up? I'm sorry.
I am
can't
standing
see
up.
you. Oh, you are? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Sorry, I'm just keen that I don't have
It's
very much
fine.
time. sorry, as you just said, you think it's important to respect the diversity of views, especially on Israel, and to treat people with respect. What then do you say to the many members of our community, British Jews, who have taken part in marches in solidarity with Palestine, who are involved in protests currently on campuses? I know some of them are in fact representatives, members of the youth movement I represent, and what would you say to them as fellow Jews in the UK? How can the Board of Deputies of British Jews represent them also, even if you don't necessarily share their views, even if you find their views uncomfortable on Israel and the current crisis in Gaza? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Noah. Thank you. You said it all when you said we're the Board of Deputies of British Jews. We are never all going to have the same view. My concern on campus is whatever you want to do, however you want to express your feelings, however you want to demonstrate, don't stop the other students from studying in peace and achieving their goals. Don't make them feel threatened and nervous to go in spaces where those protests are taking part. I don't have a problem with anybody's view. They're entitled to express it. We won't all agree. The board is not going to take one under my leadership, will not take one side against another, but we are here to defend, protect and support all our community, and that includes students who don't necessarily have the same view as everybody else.
Deborah Cohen, you've got a very short time.
Thank you, Sheila. Deborah Cohen,
Hi,
Belsize
Deborah.
Square Synagogue Deputy. I was very surprised to hear you make the comment that you didn't feel the board had done enough since the 7th of October. So with respect, can you tell me what you think they haven't done that they should have done, and perhaps with reference to what partners they should be haven't worked with that they should have worked with, if you think that's the case?
Deborah, that is a brilliant question. Thank you for asking it, because it allows me at this point to say about the amazing work the board staff have done since October the 7th in the advocacy work, in supporting the vigils, supporting the hostages, the education advice, the advice to parents. It's amazing. The board's team have been outstanding. I have a problem.
Thank you. We're out of time. Is that correct? Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's a good place.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Well done. Thank you. Do a hand to all the candidates. Thank you. The next person is going to be Amanda, please.
Can we ask people not to go up what people are...
Yeah, can we have deputies? Can we have deputies, including those eating and drinking? Can I please ask you, whilst candidates are speaking, giving their speeches, can people not go up there and questions, it's distracting for them. And maybe some people might say disrespectful. It's really tough standing for election. So can we please sit down? No disrespect to anyone. It's just that rustling is something that causes a loss of concentration. Welcome, Amanda.
You're logged in as me.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7th of October marked a watershed moment for us all, a day that is etched in our collective memory. It stands as the darkest of days for Israel, unleashing virulent anti-Jewish hatred on our streets, our campuses, and in the media. As your president, I'll fiercely defend and protect the freedoms, rights, and security of all British Jews, just as I have over the last 6 years. Working with the police, the transport authorities, and the CPS, I'll ensure that we're kept safe, that we feel safe, so that we can celebrate our way of life free from fear. I have years of experience of working at the highest levels with these organizations. They know me, they trust me, they listen to me. From weekly meetings with the Met's Gold Commander, sessions with TfL's Commissioner, and participation in the Chief Crown Prosecutor's Hate Crime Consultative Group, I have emphasized the urgency of addressing the alarming increase in anti-Semitism with arrests and prosecutions. And it works, with the CPS reporting a 10% increase in charges for hate crime cases in the final months of last year. These are people I know, I work with, and crucially, they trust me. And while we face the dark, disturbing, unsettling times, we must regain our pride, our joy, our sense of celebration. I want to celebrate our culture, traditions, and heritage from Mitzvah Day to Limud and beyond. This diversity, this fizzing creativity of our community is uniquely, magnificently ours, and we need to champion it. That's why I've already been speaking with MPs to designate a special time to celebrate the contribution of British Jews to the UK. So much of our dialogue is being drowned out by the loudest voices. That's not what we need. What we do need is for the board to be relevant and inclusive to all British Jews. Being part of the board should be great for personal growth and development. It's why we need to work with regional and women deputies and our under 35 assembly, which I'll make permanent, on the issues that they highlight as important. Listen, consult, and then act. Ask the UJS deputies I've worked with on my defence division. It's how I work, and I'll build on that approach. In education and the workplace, we're told that there's no such thing as a stupid question and no bad ideas. I want to hear your thoughts, your ideas, your complaints. I'll listen, consult, and then I'll act. My style is analytical, diligent, and decisive. I don't make promises I can't keep. That's not how I work. It's not how I've ever worked. And maybe because I listen to you, people listen to me in my division, in my meetings with MPs, council and union leaders, and those at the highest level of government. I'm standing to be your president because I believe passionately in public service, and in particular in serving our wonderful community in its rich tapestry of diversity. It's not just about whether I sound polished. It's knowing what I say and when to say it. It's knowing how to act. But this election is not about me or any of my fellow candidates. It's about us. It's about us taking a decision as to who we want to advocate for our interests. Because my vision for deputies is transformative. I'll reset relationships to give you more value from your membership, as well as leverage your experience and your expertise. Voting for me is a call for transparency, inclusivity, and accountability. It's a vote for someone who brings people together to achieve great things. I'll be the president who unifies people in purpose for our board and our community, not for President Amanda. Our plenary meetings are a relic of yesteryear, so let's move on with more dialogue and debate, testing out the wonderful ideas highlighted during the election campaign, and importantly, changing our culture so that we can embrace the mantle of being that voice of British Jewry. Because we may be the only democratically elected body, but we also need to earn that right in order to be that voice. When we unite, we thrive. As your president, it would be my honor to champion you all and raise this extraordinary body to even greater heights. Together, we'll create a board that's the proud voice of British Jews, which serves as a beacon of hope and strength for the next 3 years, and indeed, for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's going to be 5 minutes of questions. Can Paul Edlin get ready online? I'm going to take questions in the room first. I can't see who the hand is there with a watch. Really, thank you. And then over there, please, Carol, and it'll be Paul first, Paul Edlin first. Thank you.
Okay, hi Amanda. Phil Rosenberg has proposed that we should have a separate person taking the meetings, not having the president of the board taking the plenaries. What is your view about that situation?
Thanks, Michael. We've changed a lot in our plenaries over the last 6 years. We've gone online because we had to, but we've stayed online because it's a way to involve people that have a long way to come or maybe can't come at the time of day when we hold meetings. We've got electronic voting, but we've all agreed that there needs to be a change. I think we should try lots of different things, and that could include an independent chair, but let's see how we go, and let's integrate those changes one at a time.
Thank you. It's going to be Paul Edlin next, then Carol in the room who's got the mic. Paul.
Thank you. Amanda, as a Vice President of the Board of Deputies, you have to ask questions and make statements that can be difficult because many people may not like them. I'd like to ask you if you felt you were questioned enough during your term as a Vice President over actions that were in relation to anti-Semitism, etc. I'd like to particularly question your actions in the interfaith network of the UK, which has been had its funding removed by Michael Gove because they had a member of their board who is a Muslim of, shall we say, terrorist credentials which are against the interests of the state, the state being the UK. I want to ask you that you were a member of that board. Why did you speak out against it? I understand you did not. And what is your position on this? Because you can't sit on the fence when you're the President of the Board of Deputies.
Thanks, Paul. I think there are quite a lot of questions in there. So firstly, I just want to talk about sitting on the fence. I don't think I have been sitting on the fence. I think if you talk to any member of my division, they'll tell you quite how wrong you are and quite how much I've actually led the division. Look, at the Board of Deputies, there are only so many spokespeople that one can have. And we've had a fantastic spokesperson in terms of the President, and I've been happy for the President to take the lead on many of the positions. But I help to write all the positions that we have. In most circumstances, we need someone to speak out and someone to work behind the scenes doing the quiet diplomacy. And I've been that person doing the quiet diplomacy, doing the same thing when it came to the interfaith network. We wrote to government, we spoke with government. And so I absolutely refute that I didn't speak out. When I'm president, I will be that spokesperson, and I will be absolutely proud to be so.
Carol. And can you be thinking about some more hands in the room? We won't lose any time, okay? We've got roughly just under 2 minutes, probably. Carol, and then get ready anyone else in case we have time.
Carol Abrahams, Catford and Bromley Synagogue. Amanda, the talent standing for election this year is stunning. 4 really good candidates, and I've been listening to hustings and reading. I think it would be a tragedy if we were to lose the 3 losers. Do you have any plans for bringing the 3 losers, if you are the winner, into the fold and making sure that we don't lose their talents?
I'd like to think that we're all winners, because whoever wins this election is going to be representing the Jewish community, and we've worked well together during the campaign. Of course I have plans, Carol, but I want to talk to them before I tell you.
Right, don't penalise Amanda for time, but there's a hand I can't see at the back. No, further back. I don't know who you are. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Friedman, Deputy for Pinner United Synagogue. Now, in my opinion, a sense of humour is a valuable asset in life. Even in serious times such as these, it can be used to deal with stress, connect with others, and make the world maybe a little bit brighter. Can you give us an example of a time when you've used your sense of humour to defuse a difficult situation?
That's a really tough question, Ruth. And I'm going to say there's probably more time for another person to ask a question rather than me spend the time looking to answer yours right now, with absolutely no disrespect. I can see that Paul's got his hand up.
There's somebody at the back. I can't see your hand. Elderly, sorry, forgive me, a more elderly gentleman. I have to be really, really quick. I'm sorry. I can only see grey. I'm sorry. I'm probably grey as well, but you know. Thank you.
Amanda, Paul Hart, Mosaic Liberal Synagogue. Amanda, when you become president, will you allow the under 35s to be able to vote?
Will I allow the under 35s to? Yeah, absolutely. Ruth, I'm going to try and...
Are we done?
I'm going to try and diffuse the situation with a little bit of humour. Paul, yes, absolutely. It's in my manifesto, and whenever I've had the chance, I've said that we will have a new scheme of under 35 deputies, so that an additional under 35 representative
Thank you.
from each organisation.
Thank you. Thank you. He was 20 seconds different. And can I say, Paul Hart, thank you for your sense of humour. And I apologise to anyone at the back, because if you have your hands up, there's so many people today, I can't easily see who you are, so I might stand up. Right, can we bring out the next candidate, please? Michael Ziff. Please don't start till people are sitting down.
Do you want me to go and come back?
Folks, we need to move on. There will be time after Michael.
Yeah, please, can we sit down? It's not fair on a candidate. It really
Really unfair. While this is going on.
Come on, Flora, please. It's very good, but it's really not fair because people are nervous who are candidates. Please, can't you wait till the break? Thank you. Welcome, Michael. Thank you. Please proceed.
Deputies, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by thanking the professional team for their time and commitment in organising these elections in hustings. 218 days ago, our world changed, our issues changed, and our needs changed. As we hope and pray for the hostages to be returned and the killing to stop, Jew hatred is growing. This is the most challenging period in Jewish life that any of us remember. Today, we need to stand united behind strong, effective, and ever-challenging leadership. I will bring us together. To quote JFK, divided there is little we can do, but united there is little we cannot do. I am ready for the challenge, ready to fight, and ready, deputies, to lead you. This is not the time for quiet diplomacy. This is time for action. I took action. Appalled by the anti-Israel occupations at Leeds University, where I was deputy chair, I insisted the Vice-Chancellor stops prevaricating. He listened and he acted. He restored the courtesies of the chaplain, and he assured me that outside activists will be barred. I pay tribute to you, the deputies. Your welcome to me when I visited you, your willingness to engage when I called you, your eagerness to put yourselves in the front line has been most inspiring. In my presidency, I will involve you and as many people as possible in the work of education, promotion and defence. My President's Advisory Group will include experts and deputies to support the work of the HOs, the executives, the divisions and the working groups, tackling issues head-on. My media response team will bring together trained experts, including deputies who are best placed to present our community's position to the media. And my Cobra crisis team will ensure we're never again caught unprepared. The culture of the board must change. The lack of respect at plenaries is unacceptable. Many of you have complained about always hearing the same voices. I will encourage the quiet voices to turn up the volume. In the meantime, I pledge I will prioritise battling anti-Semitism and Jew hatred. I will balance the age and gender profile throughout the board. I will meet the under 35s and the women's group monthly. I will speak with every deputy quarterly. I will make the meetings more inclusive and above all interesting and useful. I will raise the £250,000 for the regions and other projects. I have the experience, the ability and contacts to do so. Now, more than ever, our community needs experience and solid leadership. As your president, with the support of deputies and others, I will ensure that wisdom and gravitas are brought to meetings with government and other leaders. My record as treasurer of the board stands proud. When I became treasurer, the deficit was growing. Now, when we have a break-even budget, we have to continue with responsible financial management. This is the moment to elect a president who will involve you all, a president who will listen, a president who will lead, a president with experience and ability. I am the serious leader for the serious time, the serious leader for the serious challenge, and the serious leader to ask you for your vote. Ladies and gentlemen, deputies, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you. Right, I'm just going to be checking. I haven't got any online questions at the back. Thank you. We have about 6 minutes, but thank you. Rob Sassoon.
Rob Sassoon, S&P Sephardi Community. You've talked about a President's Advisory Group and a COBRA committee. Yet we already have an honorary officer team, we already have an executive, we already have divisions, and indeed we already have the deputies as a whole. So where do these fit into the existing structure of the Board of Deputies? And if I can ask a slightly chutzpahdik question here, are you suggesting that those groups aren't suitable for those purposes already?
So I'll answer the second question first. They are suitable, but what I will be doing is bringing in more people. What I've discovered going around the country, talking to in the shuls, I have discovered more people want to be involved. This gives other people a chance to get involved in the organisation, and that is what I want to encourage for our way forward. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Sorry, I can't see. I can just see the hand. Thank you.
Philip Goldenberg, Northwest Surrey Synagogue. Michael, can I ask you, I'm new on the board, but I've been involved with a lot of other organisations. And in my opinion, the governance structure and the internal organisation of the board needs a bomb under it. How are you with high explosive?
So you and I have had this discussion over the last few months. We've talked about constitution, we've talked about governance. I will set up a team of people. I've spoken to a number of people who I see in the room today, and I've asked them whether they would like to be involved, as I have said to you. And we will set up a group of people who will go away and review the governance. I have done this before in my synagogue, Marble Arch. We did a review of the governance. We did eventually end up changing, and we now are able to have a woman as a president of the synagogue. It did take us time to get there, and Mary helped me to get there, but we did. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to let David May ask a question, but ladies, after David May, come on. Thank you. After that, Laura Marks. David May.
David May, Leicester Hebrew Congregation. First of all, I'd like to
say thank you and congratulate the present board and all the honorary officers for the amazing job that they've been doing and done. But I would like to ask this question, and that is that one of the most disappointing things about the last triennium is that we haven't had meetings in the provinces, and because of funding possibly and maybe other reasons, we haven't had a board weekend. What are you going to do about that? Because I believe that that is something that the board is so London-centric, it is really very disappointing. Thank you.
David, did I see a Leicester City flag? Oi, and I don't want to know what's going on. So, I'm from Leeds, in case some of you didn't know. But with all seriousness, we have to change and start to involve the people who are in the regions. I'm getting used to changing the name from provinces to regions, David. We will do more in the regions, that I promise you. I agree with you, it is London-centric, and we have to try and find ways and means of making sure, and given my background, I will ensure that. I've held other organisational involvement in the regions. I was provincial vice chairman in UJIA, and that was, again, I will ensure that happens. Thank you.
Can Ilan Lieberman get ready to, after Laura Marks, to unmute online? Don't penalise for the time. Laura.
Laura Marks, I represent the Alliance of Jewish Women. And Michael, it was lovely to hear you say that you're going to meet with the women every month. I'm not sure we have the time for that, but I'll do my best, along with the Board of Deputies Women's Group. But on a more serious note, what have you done so far to engage, other than at your own shul, what have you done within the Board of Deputies to engage with women? And what would you do to do that further? So what have you done and what would you do?
Okay, so I'd like to answer that wider than just in the Board of Deputies. Firstly, at Maccabi, which a lot of you probably know that I'm involved in Maccabi, when I joined, it was a male-only board. I can tell you that as of today, we have got 7 members of the board, 4 are male, 3 are women, of which one of them is 35, and she's just been appointed to the board in the last couple of weeks. Amy Wagner, some of you may know her. And that's because I believe we have to make those changes. In terms of me engaging with women in the board, I have spoken to a large number of women on a regular basis as I've been going around talking with them, canvassing and visiting the shuls. So hopefully that gives you satisfaction. As far as the time is concerned, I'm prepared to give it the time to make sure and put it in the diary.
Thank you. Ilan, you're going to have to be really, really quick. Are you there? Because I can't see you.
If you're elected as president, how are you going to defend the term Zionism, and how do you plan to get from the river to the sea labelled as hate speech?
So can you
repeat the question? Don't penalise for time. Thank you.
When you're elected as president, how do you intend to defend the word Zionism and the concept of Zionism, and how do you intend to get from the river to the sea banned as hate speech?
So answering the second part of the question, when I went recently to Brighton, on my way back to the station, virtually every other chair had got it engraved. I've started to talk with CST, I've talked with others, and about seeing what we can do to try and get that banned in Parliament. And it will be something that I will follow up, whether I am elected or whether I'm not elected.
Time, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. May I propose a 5-minute break? You can all rush, including me, to have some coffee and something to eat. You can go back to the green room. Thank you. Thank you.
remind me, if I haven't remembered by Wednesday, remind me I need to get my expenses to you. Need to get it done before my term ends.
Not my problem. You've got to remember.
Yeah, just give me a nudge.
Yeah, okay. But if I remember by Wednesday, I'll...
Thanks, man.
Are these expensive for which trip are we talking?
This is just from the beginning of the year. So basically be the only expenses.
You claimed everything from last year.
Yeah. You asked me to, yeah, exactly. So it's
Beginning of this year.
New York and some of the diplomatic engagement stuff I do, because sometimes I take diplomats out for lunch and stuff like that.
But, well, you won't be doing it, will you? I guess. I was going to say for you to try and get them in
I know, I'm so bad at it. I've always been terrible.
Otherwise, I don't get accurate the accounts.
Honestly, and I think really do keep this between me and you. That's okay. So when I started, someone was quite derogatory about me putting in expenses claims.
Yeah.
And so it made me a bit shy about doing it. And I think I just got out of the habit. Pretty much,
About
yeah.
claiming stuff.
Yeah. And I know I have to do it, but I think every time I go to do it, I just get like a little bit of like.
I feel like you shouldn't be claiming.
Yeah.
If you're traveling abroad in New York,
I know, and it's a
you're out
killer.
of the country, you've got to get a taxi, you've got to get a hotel. Why should you claim?
I agree. I totally agree. It's just like it wasn't nice when I started. Do you know what I mean?
If you get on the tube and go to town, okay, forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'd like to think I'm very reasonable with it. I always try and save money wherever
I know that. The vast majority of people here don't.
Start again, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Deputies, could you please take your seat so that we can get started on the vice presidential hustings? No? I wasn't given it. Deputies, please take your seat so we can get started with the vice presidential hustings.
Denise, Adrian, Jeremy, Andrew, Owen. Sorry, she wrote it down. I thought she gave it.
That's all right.
You got it?
Deputies, please take your seats. We want to get started with the next hustings. Yes. But we need Marie and Edwin back, because otherwise people aren't going to take this seriously. Yeah. Deputies, please take your seats so that we can get going with the vice presidential startings. Hi. That's right. This is ridiculous. Where's Marie? Deputies, please take your seats so that we can get started with the vice presidential hustings. I'm afraid I'm going to keep saying this until you stop crowding around the food. Deputies, there will be time for more food after the hustings. We've got 5 quite anxious candidates in the back. Oh, the gavel. Should have used the gavel.
Come on, deputies, come on. Come on, please, can we be seated? No, I can get them seated.
Deputies, please get away from the refreshments table. The refreshments, I promise you, are not going anywhere. Everybody here can see who you are. I don't know if you want me to start naming you. Please take your seat so we can get started with the next round of hustings. Guys, you're literally, Dory, gang over there, you're stood over by the refreshments. Can you please take a seat so that we can get started with the hustings? This is nearly there now. Only 2. I think we're pouring milk. I don't know what's going on. Michael, if you could take a seat, please. Excellent. Thank you, deputies. Fortunately, that was very stress-free. We all got you down nice and quickly. So, we're about to start with the vice presidential hustings. Before we do, can we please just have one more, as we've got them all now in the room, the presidential candidates, a really big round of applause for all of them. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you. So the order that we're going to be taking the vice presidential candidates is Denise, and then Adrian, and then Jeremy, and then Andrew, and then Owen. Can I ask, please, when you ask your questions, don't bother introducing yourself. Just go straight with a what, a how, or a why. I don't want preamble. We don't want chat. We just want to get straight to that question. Please keep them really nice and short. I'm probably also not going to say your name because I don't remember everyone straight away, and it's just embarrassing if I say some of your names and not others. So with that, we're going to ask Denise, please, to come out. She'll have up to 5 minutes to say her bid, and the rest of the time will be down for questions and answers. So hopefully she will be out with us in a second. Is Simon getting her?
Good afternoon, fellow deputies. It's great to be here, and it's particularly prescient to be here today after the UK community gave Israel 12 points in Eurovision last night. Every single deputy and all of the online UK Jewish groups are absolutely delighted. So we need to harness that positivity and pride in ourselves as Jews as we go forward with this exciting change of leadership. I seek to serve you and the wider community as your VP. And I'm very conscious that I'm the only female VP standing for VP. So I would ask for your first preference vote so that there is gender equality. Women in the community, including deputies on the floor today, don't feel confident about speaking. They account for 30% of the board's membership, and there have been over time 2 reviews, the last in 2012. And if I'm not elected, it sends a message going backwards to all those females and men who want to see the development, promotion of women in the community and beyond, and all those people who want to come through. So it's crucial, I would say, that I stand as your candidate. But it's not only that I'm standing on the platform of being female, I'm standing on the platform of utilising my skill set for the benefit of you and the community beyond. I have been a deputy for 30 years, and I've served on 2 divisions, the Communities Division and latterly the Defence Division under 3 former vice presidents and a current presidential candidate. I've worked diligently to support them. I know the business of the Defence Division, and I've worked collaboratively with my colleagues. We stand at a crucial, critical time in our community's history where the board and the community deserves that experience to harness it and utilise my skill set, including the overarching legal and media skill set that I have for the benefit of the community. I'm a British Jew. I believe in our values and way of life and the contribution that we have to the community. As an experienced, prominent solicitor, as described by Baroness Hale, I've utilised my legal skill set for the benefit of the legal profession at National Law Society level and the family justice system, and for the benefit of access to justice to all. A VP needs to be a chair, so I am an experienced chair. I chair at National Law Society level, and I currently chair within the family justice system at one of the most significant courts nationally, involving dealing with the judiciary and the government pretty much actually on a bi-weekly basis, if not weekly, and I sit on various stakeholder groups. The Law Society trusts me to speak in the profession's interests externally on the media and international media, and I'd like to use that agility if called on as required by the board and its HOs and the president. I also have a long experience of fundraising with UJIA. I make no bow, I'm not shameful of my commitment to Israel, although I'm primarily a British Jew, and also with Jewish Care and JWA. I was one of the original Agonaut women that stood outside and managed the press in that regard. I've been to government over Jewish legislation and helped craft the Divorce and Religious Marriages Act and also the same-sex legislation. I've dealt directly with government legal counsel over the years, putting not only the Law Society and the profession's interests, but balancing that to promote gender diversity, and I will promote the LGBT community. I've also had case law that's made the Court of Appeal in the field of disability legislation, so I'm well attuned to that as well. I will engage in interfaith work and I will promote...
Thank you, Denise. Please just finish the sentence.
And I will promote also under 35 observers to full status. I seek your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. So, hands up, please. I don't see any in the room. Yes, there is one over there. Thank you very much. Raise them all the way up when you do have a question, please. Thank you.
Denise, I'll ask a question I asked one of the presidential candidates. Finally, it's now election day. Do you feel there's been too many hustings or not enough hustings or just right?
Bruce, thanks for the question. I'd like there to have been more hustings. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed going out across the country, and I really, truly want to be someone that goes and visits the regions. I got a sense of the commitment of each different community and the different issues, and I think it's the starting place of a dialogue that needs to be harnessed. And what I don't want the board to be perceived is isolationist and London-centric, aka the Westminster model. We genuinely each are passionate, committed Jews that represent our communities. And we have to work not only within the plenaries, but beyond the plenaries, digitally or otherwise, to harness our talent. And I will commit to that, working under our president to drive that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Edlin online, please. And then we've got one at the back of the room as well.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, I'm Denise. Can you tell the deputies today what you plan to do to assist regional deputies and regional communities?
Well, thanks, Paul. Picking up on that, I would go out and visit with you. I would hold regular meetings. You've got the existing structures within Scotland, Manchester, Leeds, but so there's the existing feed through in terms of agenda items, but I'm also concerned about more isolated communities, historic communities. Just to give you an example, without favouritism, Exeter and Bristol and beyond, and also communities which should be coming on board, such as Cahilla Kernow in Cornwall. So there's much work to be done, and I will commit to doing that work and whatever travel's necessary. Thank you. And I will listen to your concerns, and I think we need to devise common strategies in connection with, in particular, anti-Semitism, education, and also making us feel loud and proud together.
Thank you, Denise. The question at the back, please.
Hello. Could you please tell us a mistake that you've made and what you've learnt from it?
I think if one is speaking extempore, one can often make a mistake, or sometimes make a mistake. The reality is that if I was to listen to any playback or of myself, I'm incredibly self-critical. So I would say that I hope For example, if my video, I would say, doesn't truly represent myself. So I'm hoping to correct that and be upfront and honest with you and say it doesn't represent the full sum of me. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've got time for a very brief question online, please. Ilan.
Same question. How are you going to defend the term Zionism, and how are you going to advocate for From the River to the Sea to be banned?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last part of the question.
I think that was the same question that was asked. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Ilan.
Yeah,
Can you
same
repeat?
question.
So how will you defend the term Zionism, and what will you do to see the term From the River to the Sea banned? Denise.
To see the... Oh, right. Okay, well, I am a Zionist. I make no bones for that, but I also recognise within the context of the board and beyond, there are those that are not. And I think that we engage in respectful dialogue. But the reality is that those that are not Zionists and want to see ourselves and indeed Israel with a conflation exterminated, wiped out, as those words suggest, we should be mindful of what we say in public. With regard to the wording From the River to the Sea, I would seek to use what leverage I've got, including the fact that Sir Keir Starmer is my Shaw's local MP, within the board's aegis, and on an apolitical basis, to look for those words to be prescribed, including a review of the legislation.
Thank you, Denise. I'm going to have to
Thank you.
leave it there. Thank you very much. That's Denise's time. A round of applause, please.
Thank you.
So next up will be Adrian. So if we could please get Adrian in. Sorry, we could do it at the same time. Thank you. Adrian, when you get to the podium, the time will start when you start speaking.
Thank you. Thank you. I was thinking perhaps the longer I stand here about speaking, the more exposure I'll get. So I'm seeking the support of my fellow deputies at a time of unprecedented challenges to the community. I'm standing on the basis of my experience and expertise after 40 years of dedicated communal service. In the 1980s, I was president of the Union of Jewish Students. In the 90s, I established an Israel practice group in the international law firm, where I went on to practice for over 30 years, including representing the State of Israel. In the 2000s, I founded the London Jewish Forum with a cross-communal steering group, both by denomination and by politics. Amongst other things, LGF produced the first community's ever manifesto, and we established Hanukkah in the Square. I chaired the Jewish Committee for the London Olympics. We worked with the Israel Olympic Authority, and we hosted in the Guildhall a memorial service for the 40th anniversary of the Munich massacre, attended by families of the victims. I was called upon to recite Kel Malei Rachamim, something I've sadly recited 11 years later for the victims of the 7th of October pogrom at Labour Party conference. I became a trustee of the Jewish Leadership Council and its governance trustee, and I took on the role of Labour Friends of Israel. And for many years, I led the community stakeholder engagement at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. I led the cross-party anti-fascist campaign, Golders Green Together, working with the local MP Mike Freer and the late Tessa Jow, and the community's commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Cable Street, where we gave recognition to some of the veterans who were with us. The community faces unprecedented challenges following the terrible events of 7th October. All of us involved in community affairs, whether lay or professional, have been working tirelessly. For my part, in various roles, I have, amongst other things, been attending weekly meetings of the police, attending the control room of the Met and the Transport for London HQ, community meetings with local communities and councils, MPs, ministers and shadow ministers, and I've been on 2 solidarity missions to Israel. Our thoughts are with the people of Israel and all the civilians caught up in the conflict, the families who have suffered the loss of loved ones, and the hostages and their families. I've watched the footage of atrocities. I've been down to the Gaza envelope on 2 occasions, and the things that I've seen and the testimonies I've heard are etched on my soul. We are all anxious about the terrible conflict and the human suffering, and we pray for a speedy resolution. Back home, we're all concerned about threats to community safety, policing, the situation on campus, and the erosion of social cohesion. We must deal with these threats seriously, but we mustn't allow them to define who we are. The board is in some ways a microcosm of the wider community. There's been increasing polarisation of opinion. The board as a democratic institution has grappled with this. We are at our best when we both celebrate and respect diversity, but we must compromise where we can and establish broad consensus. It's important to keep the community at the heart of everything that we do. We need to balance accountability and freedom of expression with a reputation for delivery on the things that are dear to the hearts of those who pay the community contribution. I believe in promoting and supporting the professional team, and a good working relationship with the professional team is essential. We must all learn not just to navigate, but without giving a blank check, benefit from a world of diverse grassroots and campaigning groups from across the spectrum, see them as an opportunity to energise the community. The board must play, however, the key strategic role for the community based on long-term relationships. The board has a long and illustrious history, and I will work hard to ensure a strong and sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. We have 6 minutes now for the Q&A. Short of any hands up in the room right now, I see Ilan's hand is up online. So Ilan, would you like to ask your question, please? Maybe just ask it quite clearly, because I think we struggled to hear it a bit in the room last time.
Sorry, it's the same question as last time. How is he going to defend Zionism? How is he going to deal with the minority of Jews that are anti-Zionists within the board? And how is he going to defend liberty to speak?
So Zionism is the national liberation movement of the Jewish people. That's the beginning and really the end of it. It's the expression of self-determination for the Jewish people. And what we have to do is to ensure that we always continue to own that word. Zionism was coined by people who cared and loved about the Jewish people. And there are many people with ill intent who have gone out there and they've redefined that word and they've tried to take it away from us. And they've turned it into something entirely alien. But what they're doing is they're undermining our ability to self-define ourselves. And that actually is contrary to all the basic principles of progressive politics. And that's what we need to do.
Thank you. I see a hand at the back left, please. Sorry, Simon's just running over to you now. Do you want to just stand up so that he can see? Yep. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Paul Hart, Mosaic Liberal Synagogue. What further action will you carry out against the Met Police who seem to be under-policing the pro-Palestinian marches and over-policing the Israel supporters?
So, as I mentioned in my speech, I've been attending weekly meetings with the police, and there has been huge incremental change. So a number of things, for example, the banning of wearing masks, the use of flares, guidance that's handed out before processions, the deployment of officers who are Arabic speaking so that they can read the banners and see whether or not they're actually inciting racial hatred. And we've had further guidance very recently on other symbols as well, including the swastika. Some of these issues are operational. The police has been slow, and we've been very keen and clear in speaking up where there have been failures. Some of these are political as well. Some of them are to do with the shortcomings in the Public Order Act. For example, the frequency of marches is something that's not currently addressed by the legislation. So some of this has to be addressed both in operational and other has to be addressed at political level.
Thank you very much. And another hand right in the same area.
Adrian, in the light of the past 7 months, is it time to bury the two-state solution?
So the two-state solution has the support of international consensus and basically provides for the principle I mentioned earlier on of self-determination. So determination for the Jewish people and self-determination of the Palestinian people. How and where, what the two-state solution looks like, where and how it would happen are all issues which should be left to those who ultimately be in a position to negotiate them. And we don't know. Obviously, we're at a very, very dark and low time at the present time. If you abandon two states, then there's a danger that you create a vacuum. Because if you walk away from two states, then you actually enfranchise and embolden those who are anti-Zionist, because you then give them the impetus to argue that in fact there should be one state, and that's one state that actually neither Israelis want and neither Palestinians want. So unless we come up with something which is better than a two-state solution, and something which continues to have international support, even if it is at this present time an aspiration, we shouldn't walk away from it.
Thank you. I see another hand. Yes.
Hello, Adrian. Rosalind Lewis, Kingston, Surbiton District Synagogue. I'm just a little concerned. I know we're all concerned with Israel, and I'm, as you know, a very ardent Zionist. But I'm concerned about how much British Jews know about the Board of Deputies. I recently spent 3 days in each community in the regions or provinces, and amongst educated, very Jewish, some practicing, some not people. And I was asked more than once, oh, what is the Board of Deputies? What do they do? Who finances them? Are they good for us? So as a British Jew, I'd like to know where you stand on this question.
Thank you, Rosie. It is a fair challenge, and knowledge of the Board of Deputies does vary. Some people might be surprised, but the board actually is very impactful in social media. For example, if you look at the feed of the board on X, or what was Twitter, it gets a huge number of views and far more than most other communal organisations. So, and the board does have a brand. It actually does have a very strong brand. Someone very recently who used to be chair of the Jewish Leadership Council said to somebody else of equal stature in the community that they acknowledge the fact that the board actually has the strongest brand. But that doesn't mean people fully understand within the community what the board does. And even though the board does do a good job through the information that it circulates, certainly to deputies, not enough of that percolates through to the wider Jewish community. And that's obviously something that incumbent on all of us actually to do, is to increase knowledge of the board's activities. And some of that may be because we are missing a trick in the way that we present information. Some of it is because, frankly, the Jewish press has often used the Board of Deputies as a story in its own right, because all of the controversies that we've had in recent times, because of the polarisation that I referred to previously. And part of what I'm saying is that the board needs to move from that and make sure that we are at the heart of the community. And that, plus the communication skills that we have, should go some way to address that problem.
Thank you very much. Adrian, you're out of time, so a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next out, we are going to have Jeremy. Jeremy, your time will start as soon as you start to speak.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for coming in so great numbers, and thank you for listening to us all. So, yeah, I'm Jeremy Michelson. I thought what I'd do today, you've heard enough of manifestos and promises. I thought, tell you a bit about myself and the way I work, because, and in doing that, then give you an idea of how I would hope to be a vice president if I'm fortunate to have your first preference votes. So I was born in London, I grew up in Willesden, but I've lived in Greater Manchester now for 48 years. The old story, went to Leeds University, met a Lancashire lass, and the rest, as they say, is history. The method of working that I imbibed at a very early age is to try and disperse power downwards, to try and take power away from the centre as much as is feasible in terms of effective government and, of course, efficient decision-making, which is absolutely essential at this time. And so in Greater Manchester, where I've been on the Rep Council for, well, on and off for over 20 years, and I've been head of the education section for nearly 10 years, actually 9 years, I called a meeting of teachers together, teachers who wanted to go into schools to talk about Judaism, and I set up the Judaism for Schools group, and once it was up and running and functioning well, I handed it over to somebody else and then moved away, keeping a benevolent but distant eye on it, and then moved on to the next task, which was to create a group of Holocaust teachers, because there was a lot of it going on, Jewish kids, Jewish people going into schools, but they didn't know each other existed. So I called a meeting, got them together, said, do you want to form an organization? Yes, please. And they formed the Northern Holocaust Education Group. And as soon as I knew, once again, that they were up and running and working nicely, then I moved away. They have their own chairman, who is a member of the education group, but he works autonomously. And again, I keep a distant and benevolent eye. And that's the way I would do it in any division that I was asked to lead. So, for example, I think it's very, very important that new deputies in particular, but it should also be open to existing deputies being re-elected, that as soon as the new triennium begins, a series of briefings should occur about the things that are happening to British jury, and really to keep us in touch with what is going on, so that decisions at meetings like this can be made with informed decisions. I would also make sure that the mentoring program, which I think was pretty good, I was mentored by Richard Cooper, who knew I didn't need that much mentoring, actually. But I've mentored 2 or 3 people also since then. And I think that helps deputies be, to feel that they're part of the board, know what's going on, how to do things, which is so important, particularly if you're new. I would also involve as many deputies, again, as is feasible to carry on the work of divisions. Yes, we need an election. We need people to be elected to divisions. And with them, I would sort out a set of priorities. But once those priorities have been agreed for the next triennium, I would then open it up to anybody who wants to come along. And because I can tell you, in the Communities and Education Division over the last 3 years, we've had some tremendous work from observers. Okay, so they can't vote, but how many resolutions do you ever get at a divisional meeting? It's work by consensus. So that's what I would do. Now, of course, as regional chair, I fought like cat and dog to get a regional manager. I was certainly helped by Phil, and I'm certainly helped by Marie. And of course, I fought alongside Paul Edlin, who was then the chair of regional deputies. And I would certainly want to see at least one regional plenary, not necessarily a regional weekend, but a regional plenary, certainly. I think that can be organised. And I would hope as many people would come to really show solidarity with our regions. So, for example, we could have one in Birmingham, which is it's quite easy to get to from London and from the Northwest, etc., etc.
Jeremy, can I just ask you to give one final sentence, please?
Right. I am unattached to any political movement, and therefore I feel that I can offer unity and a decisive step forward in, and if you elect me as one of your vice presidents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll have 4.5 minutes for questions, and we will start, please, in the middle near the front here. Can I ask, don't just put your hands up, in fact, let's stand up when you want to ask a question. It just makes life a little bit easier. We'll be going to the back afterwards.
Hi, Doris Metterling, Bayswater, a New West End Synagogue. Just want to focus on one of the things you spoke about, trying to have regional meetings twice a year. Of course, I support regional meetings. The last one failed, I suspect, because it was a long way north. What will you do to have a good attendance once a year, with the suggestion that you have it perhaps, as you said, in Birmingham or somewhere else that's convenient for everybody around the country?
Yeah, I would, as you say, we can't obviously use Birmingham every time. That's not fair on the people of Birmingham. I would look carefully at where enough people can reach within reason. So possibly one in Brighton, and possibly one in, well, St John's Wood. I'm not so sure about that. Willesden maybe, but no, one in Brighton, possibly one in Bournemouth. It's harder for those, say, for example, living in East Anglia or Cumbria, etc. But I would try. Obviously, there'd have to be hybrid, but that's the way I would try and do it, Doreen.
Thank you very much. Right next to you, in fact, there, Simon, please.
Thank you, Jeremy, for that comment. As a Bournemouth deputy, we were somewhat concerned that there were no hustings anywhere along the south coast. Can we hope that in the future we will be considered good enough to have a hustings?
Well, I hope so, Marilyn, but not being, I'm on the executive, but I'm not an HO, and obviously I'm not a member of staff, so I have no idea who decided to do what. But yes, I think you're quite right. I think that something on the south coast, maybe again in Brighton where people, or Bournemouth, maybe so that people in Brighton and Portsmouth could head in that direction as well, Southampton, maybe do it that way.
Thank you, Jeremy. Are there any questions on this side of the room? No, in that case, over there, please, with the hat.
I see. Oh.
Quick question, Flora Frank. Jeremy, nobody's asked this question, and as a strong defender and supporter of Israel, especially in the time when we've had such adverse publicity, what are you going to do, if you were, please God, elected, about fake reporting and dishonest reporting, fake news? What will you do about it? It's very, very crucial, and please take it seriously.
No, 100%. No, 100%. I think, depending on which division I'm heading, but I think what I would try and do is to set up a monitoring group that would actually monitor this and work alongside some of the grassroots organisations like the Northern Advocacy Group, NAG, to try and obviously bring the BBC and others to account. I think that's really the most thing that you can do. Try and speak. If there's something absolutely appalling, then I think you've got to try and get hold of the head of the the broadcasting authority involved. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Joe, very much. Yeah. Gent standing up.
I'm actually standing up, yeah. Jeremy, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Joe.
What will you do about the growing number, not do about, but how will you include a growing number of British Jews are feeling alienated by the organisations, and the growing number of British Jews, mainly young, who do not define themselves as Zionist, but still feel part of the Jewish community?
That's difficult. I don't mind admitting, Joe, that is difficult, because I'm torn. Obviously, on the one hand, I represent a shul that is 100%. Steen Court, Manchester Great New and Central Synagogue is very much the hub of Orthodox Zionism and Mizrahi Zionism in Greater Manchester. But I also appreciate that I live in something of a bubble. You know, if you were to walk around where I live, Joe, you were to say that, you would probably get howled down. Really, I'm serious. But on the other hand, I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm just going to ask you to finish the sentence. You have run out of time.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, thank you for the Q&A. Next up, we will have Andrew. Andrew. Yeah, exactly. Currently, I must say, left-hand side of the room is doing much better on the number of questions. So let's try a little harder. Stage right, please. Joe, that doesn't mean move seats, just to be clear. Okay. Andrew, your time will start when you start talking.
Leave there. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My experience as co-chair of London Jewish Forum has shown me the importance of collaboration and engagement. Over the last 3 years, we've reshaped engagement with police and government in response to various incidents such as the convoys. In many boroughs, we've set up emergency Jewish concerns groups with synagogue and Jewish school leadership, the local council, London Assembly member, MPs and the police. Last Thursday, the CST, with whom we work closely, came to me with a concern. On Saturday, the 18th of May, the route for the latest published Palestinian demonstration had been published. And it was going to start very near the BBC, which we know affects our synagogues. One synagogue was very upset as they planned a big function for that Shabbat morning. So we were immediately able to stand up our emergency concern system. Not only did this mean it was raised with the police, but also the local MP who went to the Home Secretary and the Policing Minister. The local council leader went to MOPAC, the Assembly member went to the Mayor, and the local police leadership referred this to senior Metropolitan Police leadership. On Friday morning, we, the CST, the Board of Deputies, London Jewish Forum, Shomrim and the Jewish Police Association, met with the police, including the lead police figure for next Sunday. And by Friday afternoon, we were able to take back the message to the concerned synagogue, that they shouldn't cancel their big event, and either the route would be changed or the march would start later. Since October the 7th, we've worked daily with police, local and regional government to take greater and firmer action on demonstrations. And we've had many results: limiting routes, not allowing break-offs, stopping them wearing masks, making demonstrations disperse, increasing action on toxic banners, increasing arrests and charges, working with British Transport Police to ensure sit-down demos can no longer happen in stations, as well as ongoing work on comms. This is how we need to work: real in-depth engagement, collaboration, partnership, and where possible, making it better for our communities. Since October the 7th, we've seen an upsurge of anti-Semitism in the workplace. In London Jewish Forum, we've built relations with National Rail, TfL, NHS, British Transport Police, Fire Service, and many other infrastructure organisations. The boards needs to be the organisation that builds the capacity to train thousands of staff on how we cope, frontline staff, in anti-Semitism. And we need to encourage the setting up or support for Jewish staff networks and encourage Jewish staff organisations to become members of the board. The board can be a hub for training and developing cultural competence and cultural sensitivity in the workplace. We're lucky at the board, so many health, mental health and social care organisations are amongst our members. We've already shown this is one of the main areas we can work closely with the Haredi community. A new part of our core work should be to take building regional health works to face the national, regional and local health and wellbeing challenges as we have in London. To achieve all this, we need to step up engagement to new levels. It's no longer just cabinet members and maybe shadow cabinet members. We have the opportunity to engage more deeply, more wisely, and the need to do it with a clear agenda, outcome and actions, not just networking and a photo. With such access on the table, British Jewish diplomacy is to step up and take on new challenges. I want to ensure we value every deputy. I commit to them they be more involved. We must move from a top table to a team in which we can all play our part. Nearly every deputy I've spoken to feels they have more to give. We must make that happen. A board of deputies that collaborates both inside the community and in the wider world, delivering our community agenda through co-working and co-production, backed with a detailed impact assessment and community research. A board of deputies is credible, trusted, and a strategic partner for national and local government. A board of deputies that works with all parts of the Jewish community. All division meetings should be open, given opportunities to all deputies to take part on projects. We need to focus on age disparity by turning under 35 observers into under 35 deputies. We need to increase the number of women on the board and on divisions, and we need to develop a new perspective beyond London versus the regions. We need to enhance the Jewish experience across the UK as we battle anti-Semitism in areas where many Jews live, where few Jews live, and yes, sadly, where no Jews live. I hope you'd like to work with me and the new team to make this happen. We can really do this together.
Thank you, Andrew. We have 5.5 minutes for questions. Can I ask people to stand if you want to ask a question? We have one online already. So we're going to start with George, and then we'll take the question over here in the room on the right-hand side.
Andrew, if we go back to what happened on October the 7th, I cannot describe my feeling of rage and as to what actually happened. As far as I'm concerned, I don't live in Israel. I don't have a vote in Israel. So therefore, my view is very simple. I support the government, and more importantly, I support the IDF. I support what they're doing, and I believe people have told me the morality that they exercise and demonstrate compared to other countries. Do you support this view or not, is question one. Question two is the fact I acknowledge that everybody has worked extraordinarily hard, be it the board, individuals, etc., etc. What we need to do is to turn around, if you like, what's going on, not to accept anti-Semitism, nor to accept what's going on in the media, universities, etc. What are you going to do about that? And do you agree with my position on Israel?
Thanks, George. No, I don't agree with you, I'm sorry to say. I think we actually have a real responsibility as a community to recognise first that we don't have a vote in Israel, but we do have a voice. And we have to realise, I'm a Reform Zionist and I'm honest and I'm solid in those beliefs. And I recognise that we have a responsibility to represent the views of all parts of our community so people hear those views. And when it comes to the situation of what's going on in Israel at the moment, we've got to fight and give our views again and again that we want to see the hostages released. But at the same time, we've also got to recognise that many in our community and wider are really concerned about what might go on in Rafah. And we have a recognition that we need to, as a community, to ensure that what the IDF do and talk to organisations, don't just accept that everything is right. Because some of those stories, and people saw the Panorama documentary, which we can argue with and contest, but I would urge people to really reach out and watch and listen across everything that is being shown, and not automatically accept that everything is okay. And I'm worried about what the settlers are doing and what's going on the West Bank. I'm worried that it's going to inflame, and I'm worried about where that might lead. I'm also concerned, and I will make those views, and I will honestly, I support as very much a Zionist, and I will want to make sure that in future there will be a change of government in Israel, and they will take on our concerns. I don't have a vote in that, but I do have a voice.
Okay, so we'll take the question in the room, followed by David Benson online. Can I please remind people to ask very short questions?
Hi, Andrew. You've spoken about the great work that the LJF has done alongside the BOD in London itself, and we worked together on the Hearts Jewish Forum, which is a great model under Daniela. How do you see that model expanding across other regions in the UK as well, sort of as decentralisation of the BOD?
Yeah, look, thanks, Jane, for that question. I think it's really critical that whilst there are 30,000 Jews in Manchester and they've got structures that we've had for 200 years, in Hertfordshire, until we formed Hertfordshire Jewish Forum, the 25,000 Jews we have in Hertfordshire had no structure. And it's really important that we realise around the growth of the Jewish community as it spreads, not just it spreads into outside through the southeast, but also you're seeing in Yorkshire and Lancashire, smaller areas, Calderdale, Barnsley, the Jewish community growing from small numbers. And we've got to find new models that work and so that we can actually really represent them. There are 10,000 Jews in Essex. There are 3,000 Jews in Surrey. The way we talk, the work of the regions, absolutely, we must come up with models that continue to strengthen what happens in Manchester, Leeds and Glasgow. We also have major communities in Brighton, Bournemouth, Bristol, Cardiff and across the country. We have to realise the words we might have when we talk about regions aren't necessarily right for where the Jewish community lives now. But we have to realise whether you're one Jew and you're the only Jew in the village, or whether there are many Jews in an area, we have to find ways in which the Jewish community can work and we can work with you.
Thank you. So final question I think that we've got time for. David Benson online, please.
Hello. Do you think that the climate emergency that every Jew in the world is facing should be the concern of the board? And if you do, what action would you consider taking about this?
Thanks on that. So I'm part of the Green New Deal working group in London, and I think there are three things that we've got there. So London Jewish Forum is part of there. We're part of the what's called the London Anchor Institutions Network, and in there, Green New Deal is one of the areas we're working on. With the Green New Deal, they've got three areas. One is retrofit, then is air quality, and then there are green spaces. And as communities, we own buildings. The United Synagogue, I want to see the United Synagogue challenged about moving to net zero. We brought people onto that group from the United Synagogue. We've got Eco-Judaism as well, looking about how we can contribute both, and also people can take that into their business life and into their community life, and how we can be a part of, and I think the board can take this nationally.
Thank you, Andrew. If you just finish the sentence. Thank you very much. So we will now have Owen, just so that the room are aware, for the question and answer session, Owen will be sat next to me, just to make everything slightly easier. We want to make sure that we are as fully accessible a Board of Deputies as possible. So Owen will be joining us in a second. Thank you, Edwin, for scooching up. Sorry, that was enough of a scooch. You're good. That's okay for me to say. You want to give your speech here as well? Yes, please. Yeah, of course. Cool. Simon, you stick with that. So your time will start as soon as you start speaking.
Good afternoon. I'm really delighted to be here. I'm going to start off by saying that my passion is for inclusion, particularly when it comes to disability and regional. For this last hosting, I think I'll tell you just a few little things about myself, what I feel I can bring to the board. First, as someone with lived experience as a deaf man who's partially sighted, I've always worked mainstream, and that when it comes to school, university, employment, and the organisations that I've been involved with, I've negotiated my access needs. But not just that, that's just a small part of it. I think it is being involved and working positively in all these areas to make a difference. Before I retired, I worked in London for many, many years as the training manager, delivering government-supported training schemes to people with disabilities who were very long-term unemployed. That gave me a great opportunity, not just to be productive in an area that there was a great need, but it also got me onto a number of boards that were concerned with equal opportunities. Just for example, CENTEC, Central London Training and Enterprise Council. As an example of social activism, there's something that I'm particularly proud about, though it's going back to 1992. And this is when HIV was quite a social issue and there was a huge stigma attached to it. Not only that, it wasn't really safe to be an out gay man because of homophobia. At the time, my partner was without sight. And he really was very, very distressed over the television adverts on Don't Die of Ignorance, HIV, but he had no idea what it was about. And I recognized how on earth would people without sight or a difficulty reading have access to information. So I came up with the idea of producing an audio information cassette on HIV prevention, which the Department of Health funded. And for World AIDS Day, the Minister of Health came to open the event. The important thing about that is it changed the face of how information was provided from simply just the printed word. Getting to activism today, I'm very, very into the concept of Mitzvah Day, to use that as a way of engaging with the non-Jewish community. For example, in Salford, I work with an organization called Salford Food Parcels. And every so often, we do a Mitzvah Day event by serving coffee and cakes to people attending the food bank. And we see it as a great opportunity to explain the concept of Mitzvah Day, which breaks down barriers, I think, on understanding some of the core principles of Judaism. The last point I'd like to mention is the JLEE exhibition, which I'm taking to Salford in August. That, I think, is a brilliant opportunity to engage with the local community. We're doing it differently from focusing on the schools by focusing really on the adults who at the moment very, very much need us. Now, I'm waffling a bit now, and I can see my time is ending, so hit me with your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Owen. So we've got 5 minutes for questions. I see back right in the room, and then one at the front here. I am going for the right-hand side predominantly now. Sorry, everybody. So we'll take the question, and then I'll repeat it if necessary.
Thank you. Daniel J. Levy, Bournemouth and Earl Street, United Synagogue. Thank you for that, Owen. What do you think the easy diversity and inclusion wins we should be doing as a community are, and what impact could they have?
So that's what are the easy EDI wins that we can have as a community, and what impact will they have?
Sorry, repeat that, sorry.
What are the easy EDI wins that we can have as a community, and what impact will they have? So in terms of equality, diversity, inclusivity, what are the things that we should be doing first, and what would the impact be?
I think that obviously there's quite a great deal we can do. There's obviously quite a great deal that we can do on diversity, because we really need to reach out to everyone.
Let's just move closer to the microphone.
Good. Am I understanding the question?
Yeah. I'll stay like this, just so that we're close to the mic.
Right. I think one of the real issues is that we've got to start opening up the board to everyone that feels comfortable or feels that they really need to have a place. I'm very, very conscious that it's not just a case of disability, but we've also got to see why perhaps women don't feel comfortable on the board, and of course at the same time Jews of colour. So there's no way around it. We've got to learn to listen and talk and ask why there's not greater involvement. Thank you.
Thank you. So up here at the front, please, next to Simon.
Thank you. As the current chair of Liberal Judaism, I can attest to the difference it makes systemically, the way that you consider disability, if you have Owen on your board. We have him on our board. It's amazing. It just becomes something that you never forget to take into account. Owen, if you could have the board do 3 things differently, what would they be?
What 3 things would you have the Board of Deputies do differently?
I think one of the first things is to look at the regions and again ask, what do people want, as opposed to tell them this is what we're going to do. I think we got to consult very, very widely on that. The second thing that I'm terribly conscious of during the hustings, how so few women got involved in asking questions. So we really, really need to look at, to find out why and what's the problem. Do we have a bit of a laddish culture and so on and so forth? Because that really is off-putting, not just for women, but for a lot of people. The third thing is, obviously, I'm going to repeat the bit on disability to see how we can make more people with disabilities get involved. It's not just a case of saying this because we want to do the right thing, but there really is the issue of, to use a bit of a cliche, business model, because by excluding people with disabilities, we're losing a skill. And if you think about it, the percentage of people with disabilities is shockingly high. And by not being accessible, we're excluding about 10% of the population, of the Jewish population, from being involved with the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Laura Marks, Deputy for the Alliance of Jewish Women. And I had to speak, obviously, to thank you for your plug for Mitzvah Day, which was wonderful, thank you. And also for talking about women and how you would include women were you to be elected. But I want to ask you, Owen, I give you a gift, if you like. What would you do? I mean, I think it's perfectly clear your commitment to and your work for people with, who are excluded, and all credit to you. But tell us what else you would like to do, what other focus you would have if elected to the Board of Deputies. Tell us what else is important to you as Vice President of the Board.
So outside of the equalities work, what other work would you like to do with the board? What would be your...
Well, obviously, I mean, at all the other hustings, I began by making the point that our work is going to be cut out for us in the next triennium on the issue of anti-Semitism. So there's no doubt that I will see a lot of my time will be involved with that. I'm sure some of you will already know, for example, that I'm a co-moderator on a Facebook group which is about combating anti-Semitism in our political parties. Now, we thought after the loss, for want of a better word, of Jeremy Corbyn, that meant we would sort of, our work would lessen. But clearly that's not the case, particularly from the 7th of October. So I see again, much of our time is going to be taken up on anti-Semitism.
Thank you very much, Owen. That is your time. That was the last of the vice presidential hustings. Thank you very much. When the candidates all come out, let's give them another round of applause. But I'm going to hand over to Michael, who is going... No?
David, I'm going to thank you for your very good chairing of the vice presidential hustings. And can I give thanks to all the vice president candidates for all the hard work they've done. And it really does take a lot of guts to come up here and stand for election. I'm now going to ask if everyone can please sit down. Ben Crown, will you come to the stand? Ben is also going to speak. He's also got up to 5 minutes, and then he's got the chance to take questions. Ben has been already elected unopposed, and when Ben has finished speaking, I'm going to hand over to Michael, and he's going to explain, if we can please, Michael's going to then explain the voting procedures, and then of course we'll have a break. Thank you. Over to you, Ben.
Thanks, Marie. Hi, Deputies. Good afternoon. It's been a long meeting already, so I'm just going to speak for a couple of minutes and then take some questions. This has been the sort of contest where people say it's an honour just to be nominated. And for all the candidates who have already spoken, I'm sure that's true, but for me it's particularly special. As many of you know, I had to step down as Treasurer halfway through the current triennium for personal reasons. But I left work unfinished, and I always wanted to come back and pick back up. And this is such a special and important organisation, which I'm so proud to be able to serve again. And I really am humbled and I'm honoured to be unopposed and to return as a consensus candidate from the board for Treasurer. Deputies would have read my manifesto and know what I'm promising and what my priorities are, but just very quickly. First, to support the other HOs in their work, working with the FNO to focus our work, to build our back-of-house partnerships, to spend wisely, but spend where needed in exceptional times for our community. Second, to secure our finances and our longer-term stability, implementing and expanding the recommendations of the Common Contribution Task Force, stabilising our core costs, and to look for partners on those cross-communal projects where we currently shoulder the bulk of costs, and to fundraise with a clear strategy and clear priorities and propositions. And third of all, our culture. Everyone's already talked about it, and Michael Uyghur always reminds me that culture eats strategy for breakfast. We have to encourage and facilitate the involvement from, I would say, all deputies, more deputies, as many deputies who want to be involved, but part of that sits with the people in this room and the people online. We can only do that if deputies will behave and treat each other with respect, and then be prepared to go out as advocates and ambassadors for the board and for our community, and not just for our personal views. We're all going to have to work hard and dig deep over the next 3 years to deliver on the needs of the organisations who have sent us as their representatives. On that note, I want to just close by reminding deputies that the deadline for making submissions in support of my synagogue, Bevis Marks, is on Wednesday. Deputies will have had emails and messages already, but if they've gone awry, just be in touch and let me know. I thank you for your support in all things and look forward to serving you again. Thank you.
There's about 7 minutes left. Could I just ask, come on, people that have not asked a question. It would be really good. So we go at the back, please. Thank you.
Hi Ben, Jonathan Brodie, Deputy for Kingsbury Synagogue. The F&O for the current training is probably very undiverse. I suspect it's the least diverse of the divisions in terms of both the gender balance and also the split between regional and London-based deputies. Do you have any ideas for improving things for the next 3 years?
Yes, so when the F&O obviously is not a external facing division for the most part. It's backroom, it does support, it works with, it does organizational, operational, financial issues. And I appreciate that makes it perhaps less attractive for deputies to volunteer and give time to. But I want to say, and I'll say it again when we have a new crop of deputies in June, everyone's welcome. Anyone who wants to be involved should be involved. Anyone can come to me and ask about the division. I'm happy to look at people's skills and try and find a role for them. We're obviously going to have elections, but anyone who doesn't get elected or is concerned about putting themselves up for election should come and speak, and we can try and work something out. I had some success on it last time round. I hope to do more on that again this time.
Susan Pascoe, you are most welcome to ask your question. I don't know where the mic's gone because it should have been.
Yeah, Simon's bringing it up for you, Susan. Thank you.
Simon, please hurry up.
Susan Pascoe, Neostrock Community. I just wanted to ask you about the more longer term financial sustainability of the board. Obviously, the communal contribution is increasing to £35, but in the absence of fundraising not being as successful as one might hope, what other funding models do you see? Thank you.
Thanks very much. I think that's a great question. And I think there's two sides to it. So first of all, there's the revenue side, there's the income generating side. That we've just put the communal contribution up. We'll see it. The last time we increased the communal contribution, deputies may remember, from £25 to £30. The actual take up, the actual income, didn't really budge at all. Everything we made by increasing the per person levy, as was, we lost by people not paying it. So we'll have to see if it sticks this time. And I said in the last hustings that the strongest, the best, the most attractive fundraising proposition for the board is success. That people see we're doing things, they see we're having impact, they see we're representing, speaking for the community. They'll continue to support us. In the long term, in 20, 30, 40 years, as synagogue membership slowly tapers, we have a problem as everyone else has a problem. But as far as I'm concerned, for my term, for 5 years, for 10 years onwards, that's always going to be our core model. In terms of costs, in terms of projects, as candidates have already said, to do new things, we need to raise money. And if they're attractive things, and if they're things that work for the community, then we can go out and partner for them. And if we can't get fundraising for them, then probably these aren't things which we should be pursuing with as much force and at such a level. And that's true actually of a lot of the work that we already do. I can think off the top of my head 4, 5, 6 different projects, which are board projects which we do internally, but which are advertised, which if you look from the outside, you think, well, this is something autonomous, this is something separate. And we pay for them and we absorb the bulk or the majority, all the costs. Thinking about things like the all-party parliamentary group on British Jews. I'm thinking about Pikuach. I'm thinking about, there are any number of these. And to the extent that they serve the community and the extent that they're good for the community, they shouldn't just be our costs. Other people should be chipping in. Other organisations should be chipping in. So that's the other side of it.
Right, Robert Stone and Marilyn Keane. Before anyone says we're going slightly over, there was a disruption and Ben is not standing for election. So we can't have everyone. I'm going to really apologise. Can you be quick? Yeah, I understand that, but I'm trying to get through everybody, and I apologise if I can't. But can your questions be brief and
yes,
your answers?
A very quick question about my obsession as a member of the Finance and Organisation Division, which should be called the Organisation and Finance Division. Your third issue about culture, you talked about onboarding and respect, but do you acknowledge that the governance of the board is in serious need of looking at and reforming, and will you undertake to do some of that?
Yeah, look, I think, deputies will know that apart from perhaps the president, no one worked harder than I did to try and change the board's constitution and try and move it forward and to solve risks and address issues. And
Okay, so we've got...
And I would really like to make progress on that. But when I believe Michael was quoting a very famous American strategist who I can't remember, when he said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. That cuts both ways. We can't go out. I genuinely, we can't start and say, well, this is what we're going to do to change the governance structure. We have to change the culture first. We have to work out what we want on a consensus perspective. And then I think we can go out with and make the change we need to, but in a unified spirit, and not in the ultimately, I would say, a febrile atmosphere that we ended up trying to do it last time round.
Right, and can we have this very quick? It's going to be Marilyn Keane and Russell Conn, and then I'm really sorry we can't have any more questions. I want ladies to have their fair opportunity, not just men having questions. Sorry.
You're off. Is it there? Marilyn Keane, Bournemouth Hebrew Congregation. I am the only woman presently on the F&O, and I am also a regional deputy. I was really pleased to hear that you are going to try and promote more women on. How are you going to explain it's not just about finance, it is about organisation, administration, fundraising, promotion? What are you going to do to get more women on? We need more voice.
Yeah, well, I see Phil smiling from the second row, and I remember he proposed we change the name of the division to Finance, Fundraising and Organisation. I think maybe we even need to go one step further than that. Say fundraising, finance, organisation, operations at the F&O is the flywheel of the board. The F&O is the engine room. It's the place which sets up and enables many other things to happen. And I'll have to go out and pitch to new deputies, as I'm pitching to you now, to hopefully get people involved. But I will try very, very hard. And I feel if you are the only female and regional deputy on the F&O in 6 months' time, I will feel that I failed.
Thank you. And the last question of the election, but not least, Russell Conn.
Thank you, Madam President. Ben, delighted that you're back hopefully as the Treasurer. Very briefly, I come from the north, up north, and I've noticed when I come to make my claim that the amount we can claim has not gone up since I last came down in February 2020. Yeah. So unless you're going to ask the regional deputies to be out of pocket, are you going to review the amount that we can reclaim, please?
Yeah, I'm very happy to have a look at it. I know that there's a table. It's not been updated for a long time. It probably needs to be updated not just for cost inflation, but to take into account the different, the different routes the deputies have to take. Obviously, we're going to keep. I shouldn't say obviously. The new HOs and new exec will take a rule, but on the expectation we're going to keep hybrid meetings in some form. We won't compel people to come down, but I think everyone in this room will see there's no substitute for being here in person. This is where we make connections, this is where we see each other, this is where we talk face to face, we socialise before, after, sometimes even during meetings. And the more deputies who can come in person, the better, and if we need to spend some money to facilitate that, it's for the overwhelming good of the organisation.
Okay, so one final round of applause for all of the candidates. We are unbelievably good on timetable. When I finish speaking in about 1 minute's time, the election polls will open. You can vote in one of two ways. Either you can bring out your mobile phone or your computer and you can vote, or you can go into the booths which are through the room there, or you can get it from outside, going all the way around and get to it. And there are 3 computers there with members of staff and with our colleague from UK Engage, and they will help you vote. So, if you have not received an email with your unique voting number, please, which looks remarkably like that, please speak to either Dawn Waterman on our staff, who's waving her arm over there, or Daniel Sugarman, who is waving his arm there, and they will help you initially. Everybody will vote, no one will have a problem, and so we're going to, now, I'm going to open the voting now, and you have 90 minutes to vote. However, please don't get up yet, please listen. We are going to take now a 15-minute break. We will meet back here at 3:45 to carry on the meeting. Try and vote in that time if you can, but you don't have to. You have got until 5 p.m. to vote. At 5 p.m. we will close the voting. Thank you all very much indeed. Enjoy your short break. We'll announce, then we're going to have a tribute to Marie, which will be given by Richard. There'll be a response from Marie, and then there'll be a short speech by the new incoming president. So give us a few minutes.
David, you'll sing in the meantime.
Deputies, can you please take your seats? Before I announce, I again want to thank all of the candidates who have stood for election. And I know how heartbreaking election processes can be for people that haven't won. And I can only hope that the candidates try to involve everyone. But I want to say my deepest, deepest thanks. We have a new president, the 49th president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews is Phil Rosenberg. Can I announce? Can I please announce, because I know the VPs are very anxious. We have a new senior vice president. I have to say I'm pleased. Adrian Cohen. And two other vice presidents, well done. Andrew Gilbert and Jeremy Michelson. Now my one comment of congratulations is this is an all-male team, and I urge this new team to make sure that you involve women. I think that's very, very important. But congratulations. Now, I know we're going to continue. So, no, Richard, I'm just handing back to Richard, and we'll come back. But congratulations, and can I say commiserations?
Madam President, maybe I'm the last person to say that to you, but they have a tradition in America, don't they, that you carry on being called president for virtually the rest of your life. So, but if you just forgive me a moment, I just want to have a shout out for my friend and colleague David over here, because I'm a member of the International Division, and I just wish to pay tribute to David's senior vice presidency and also the way in which he has headed the International Division. And seeing as he quoted his Sephardi Portuguese past, and I love history, that brought into mind the words of Benjamin Disraeli when he was in Parliament in 1834. And he said to the throng, who didn't like him at all, "Though I sit down now, the time will come when you will hear me." And we too hope that you're just taking a temporary sabbatical, that this is not goodbye, but au revoir, or lehitraot, and that you will return and to take a senior position. But at least we're grateful that you're going to remain a deputy. So, tenacity. This is a really great attribute for any president, that if you believe something strongly enough, that you stick at it. And just look at some of the things that Marie has been so tenacious about. All the hassle that she had from the coroner, obviously with the BBC, the Labour Party, COVID. I don't really want to read out a shopping list of Marie's achievements. Marie works extremely hard
She doesn't pause. There, I was sitting on the train looking at the manicured fields of England as we were going up to Chipping Norton, and also doing Wordle and all sorts of stupid things. But she'd just come back from Qatar when they were just starting to negotiate for the release of the hostages. So she no doubt was jet lagged, but she was taking phone calls and notes and emails, and she just worked. No doubt we are all in a very serious situation, and sometimes it feels as though we're not making any progress forward because the wheels of progress grind exceedingly small. But I maintain they grind sure. And I think sometimes we need to turn to poetry because we have our sound bites and what we do in the media and prose. But I want to end with a poem which I think is applicable to our present circumstances, and it will take about 30 seconds. It's by Arthur Clough. Say not the struggle naught availeth, the labour and the wounds are vain. The enemy faints not nor faileth, and as things have been, they remain. For while the tired waves vainly breaking seem here no painful inch to gain, far back through creeks and inlets comes silent flooding in the main. And not by eastern windows when daylight comes in the light. In front, the sun climbs slow. How slowly? But westward look, the land is bright. Thank you. Here's one I baked earlier.
Apart from congratulating Phil, which I will do again in a minute, I just want to say from the heart, thank you. Believe it or not, I leave you still a new deputy. I only became a deputy in 2012, and I'm very, very grateful for the trust that was put in me. I have to thank my family, my two daughters, they're still only teenagers. I did cling on to driving my daughter to school every day, but they have been very, very good because I've done the job as a mother and also having to work, and I still work as a lawyer. So I've done the very, very best that I can. We're truly blessed with an amazing staff team, and it is difficult as a community to reach consensus. Sometimes things are contentious, but I stand by my stance on refugees. I stand by saying that I've got huge concern about Rwanda, people being sent to such a place. And on Israel, there are many and diverse views. Again, I say, I don't want any innocent Palestinians to die. I don't want to look at Palestinian children. I hope that there can be peace and that we've had a vote, we've had a democratic say. We believe in a two-state solution where there's a stable and secure Israel, but there clearly needs to be a plan that has to be put in place, a Marshall Plan. These are very difficult issues to grapple going forwards, and I feel I've had the most difficult issues since the Second World War to deal with, whether it was anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and I say that Keir Starmer has done what he said he would. He's rooted out anti-Semitism for the party. I've sat on the Labour Party Advisory Anti-Semitism Board. We've worked through these issues as a community. We've had COVID to deal with. We've had the terrible impact of the pandemic. We didn't think it could be any worse. There was conflict in Israel, then the 7th of October, then Iran. I don't know what other issues could be faced by a community. And you've given me strength. It's an honor and a privilege to serve you. I will remain a commissioner for the World Jewish Congress, and anyway, not in this way, because I've done my time. It's time for a new president. but presidents of the Board of Deputies are always here to serve the board. And I'm sure that I will go on. I'm still young. Wikipedia is wrong, by the way. It says I'm 59. Perhaps somebody could correct that. I'm only 58. It still makes a difference. And I hope that I can carry on to give communal service. And it's been an honour dealing with faith relations, meeting the Pope, for example, with Michael was a real highlight. We've had a fantastic relationship with the Church of England and other faiths, and that really is important because we are minority communities. My deepest thanks to my HOs. Where's Amanda? She's been amazing. Edwin, David, Michael, and the staff. You know, Phil, as Director of Public Affairs, we were together through some very difficult times. Daniel Sugarman, everybody here, they're an amazing team. And we must also really think of Adam because it's so tough for him because the hostage situation is so close to home and it really does impact on Adam. He's had his cousin killed and another family member hostage. So let's all hope and give strength to Adam. Martin, good luck. Dawn, you've all been great. Jack, Victoria, I will show the staff my gratitude, but it really has been my honour and my privilege to serve. Thank you. I will now hand over to Phil. Oh, not yet.
Some flowers for you, Marie.
Thank you. And Michael Weger. Mike, I've been blessed. Thank you. I have been absolutely blessed to have a CEO, Michael Weger. He's been incredible. He has always been there for me with his wise guidance. We've worked really, really well together. It's been amazing since the time that you were appointed, and I can't tell you what a wonderful man he is and how much he loves our community, and we're very lucky to have him as such a CEO. So am I allowed to open my present?
Yes, for sure.
Right, okay. I can see what it is. I won't open it in case I drop it. It's the new Kiddush cup, which is just what I needed. It's a beautiful suit. All right, look, can I just ask you to focus? Sorry. I'm a bit klutzy. Hang on, I'm a bit klutzy. I'll admit to it.
It's a silver antique.
Oh, wow. Gosh. That is beautiful. Oh, okay, I'll give it straight back. Oh, do you know, I will treasure this. Oh, it's beautiful all my life. It will be. Thank you. I've been blessed with all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Phil.
Over to Phil.
So happy you did it. You said you did it.
Really?
Deputies, you did it. You chose the future and you made history. Thank you. I'm going to start with a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'achiyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Sovereign of the universe, who sustains us, lifts us up, and brings us to this time. I want to say a huge thank you to you, deputies, each and every one of you, those who voted for me, those who didn't. I'll be a president for each and every one of you, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for your support. To my fellow candidates, Amanda, Sheila, Michael, it's been an amazing campaign. You've each and every one of you put everything into it. You're each and every one of you amazing, amazing parts of this Board of Deputies. As I said, I'll reach out to each and every one of you so that we can continue to work together. Thank you for everything you've done, and thanks for a great campaign. Similarly to the new honorary officer team, looking forward to working with all of you. We will look at the issue of gender diversity. It's really important, as you said, Marie. So to Adrian, to Andrew, to Jeremy, looking forward to working with you, but also to Owen and to Denise, thank you very much for everything you've done. We will keep you involved as well. I want to say a big thank you to my amazing campaign team. They've pulled out all the stops. They produced amazing graphics. They kept me on the straight and narrow when I had some of the off-the-wall ideas that I sometimes have. You really made this possible. Thank you. And most importantly, to my amazing wife, Frances, who's put up with a lot and is going to be putting up with more. Board, an amazing First Lady of the Board of Deputies. Thank you very much for everything. I can't tell you what an honor this is to have followed in the footsteps of Marie, of Jonathan, of Vivian, of Henry, of Moses Montefiore. What an amazing thing to be part of. And I want to say a particular tribute. I know there have been some, but I'll say a shorter one to Marie, who's been a most amazing president, who's given it your absolute all. I think when people look back, they'll think of 4 C's: Corbyn, COVID, conflict, and the coronation. You've been a most amazing president and you've given it all. And thank you for doing what you've done every day. And I look forward to gaining your wise counsel as we go forward as well. So obviously the hard work begins here. As president, I pledge to fight anti-Semitism, stand up for peace and security for Israel and the whole Middle East, defend our religious freedoms and celebrate our culture, and make our community and our Board of Deputies proud, inclusive, and unified. And I look forward to doing it with all of you working together, changing the game so that we become this hub and spoke model and getting each and every one of you out and about and making sure that we maximize our relevance, reach, and impact right around the country. Thank you so much for that. And I think we've got to do it all by looking at last week's parasha, with a dictum, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You shall love your neighbor as yourself, inside the community and outside the community, and that's how we will proceed. So finally, I just want to say a final thank you to each and every one of you. I'll put on some drinks in the bar if you want to stay around. I'll understand if you want to get the last of the sunshine. But thank you once again, and looking forward to working with you over the next triennium.
Can I just have power? We all wish all good things for you, Phil, and we're all very, very happy. Our new 49th President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews. Can I also say, I forgot to thank Richard for his lovely thanks for me, and I want to also thank him because he's been my agent. I've empowered him twice, the seemingly impossible task of getting me on question time, and he's done really, really well, I have to say. So all credit, and thank you so much for your very, very kind words. Deputies, I'm going to hand you over to Michael, who's going to tell us that we have to leave, I think, this way. Thank you very much for such a lovely meeting. Thank you for being you. Thank you.
So there is a bar mitzvah starting now out there. So we've been asked either leave very quickly that way or leave through the youth centre this way. But obviously this way, sorry. Leave this way. They don't want us hanging around out there because there's a mitzvah. Thank you all very much indeed. Have a good evening.